And we're back without my normal inboxing background, courtesy of Chrome not working for me now. And I closed down all my Chrome tabs and everything and restarted, and now I have no internet on Chrome. But Firefox saved the day, and thank God we're here and talking. And we got an amazing guest for the season finale of season 2, Chase Dimond. Personally, he's like the teacher. Like it's nonstop, just stuff about marketing and building your brand and building your agency. And he's got a course, of course, and yeah, he's just an amazing guy, super humble, and but yeah, really, I just can't wait to talk to him. He's got a great story, and everyone can learn a lot from him, and they do. So anyway, without further ado, please welcome Chase Dimond.
How are you? Thanks for having me.
Oh, for sure. Thank you for joining me. I really, really appreciate it. This is the season finale, and it couldn't be, I really wanted to go out with a bang on season 2, and I feel like I couldn't get a better bang than Chase Diamond for the season finale. So
Sweet.
thank you so
Well,
much.
I'm ready to rock and roll. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, I hope so. All right, so we'll just jump right in. You just start, just give yourself like a little introduction, where you're from and what you're doing today.
Yeah, so I live in Orange County, California, so the west coast of the US. And right now I'm a partner at an e-commerce marketing agency called Structured. So we're a team of about 100 plus employees around 6 countries. So the US, Canada, Mexico, Philippines, etc. And we're servicing about 150 e-commerce brands. So our brands do anywhere from $1 million a year online upwards to a couple $100 million a year online. Actually, one brand from Israel that we work of is right behind me called Mix Tiles, which you might be familiar with. They're a
Oh
really
yeah.
cool 9-figure brand out of Israel. So that we do email, SMS, and a couple other services, but I really only talk about and focus on email. So that's kind of the high level.
Okay, all right, that works. It's so funny. I didn't know you were structured. I thought it was Boundless Labs, and I kept posting Boundless Labs. But I actually met someone who works for Structured, who you probably know. And she lives in Zifron, like a little bit northern Israel in the suburbs.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes,
and
the story there is I started Boundless Labs about 4 or 5 years ago with a partner. And about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, we merged with a company called Structured Social. So we only did e-commerce email. They only did paid social for e-com. And we merged together to be able to offer like acquisition and retention. And since we've added additional services, and we kind of rebranded to Structured Agency. So that's people call us one, two, three of the names, and we kind of just roll with whichever.
right, yeah, no, for sure. It's just so funny, like because I had this call last week. Really, last week. Someone I've been talking to for a while. She used to work for Hush. The
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
yeah, the weighted blanket brand. Yeah.
yeah, Ruthie.
Yeah, now she's doing head of retention, she told me, for Structure.
Yeah, she just
So,
got promoted to running the retention team, so she's now our director of retention.
yeah, exactly. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
What's her name? I'm blanking.
Ruthie, Ruthie.
Ruthie, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Ruthie Abraham. Yeah, awesome. All right. So recently, and being, nosy and digging in your LinkedIn, I knew you've been dealing with Crohn's probably since childhood, and recently you came out about it. And you turned into a story about like how that actually helped you become a marketer. So yeah, you want to tell us a little about that?
Yeah, so I was diagnosed at the age of 13, and I guess I got sick at the age of 13, and I spent an entire year being sick. So I technically didn't get the diagnosis till I was 14, but I started feeling really sick at 13. I went almost the entirety of a year without knowing why I was sick. People thought it was a bug or this, that, or the other, and I just kept getting misdiagnosis after misdiagnosis. So after about a year of just being really frustrated, I wanted to take it upon myself to raise fundraising and awareness, so that way if other people had Crohn's, at least they can know about it, right? It's something that about 1.4 million people in the US have. So it's a lot of people, but as a percentage, right? It's like a percent of a percent. So there's not as much attention around it. So I really wanted to take it upon myself to do that. So I was doing like restaurant fundraisers. I was doing like ads out in the local papers. I was like emailing and calling friends and family. We were putting on walks. We were doing all these events to raise awareness. So at the time, I was doing a bunch of guerrilla marketing. I didn't know that term until much later. And through that, I became the youngest board member of the top chapter of the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. We did a few $1 million a year in fundraising through these efforts. So I got to kind of network and be mentored by like the CEOs and the founders of huge tech companies, and the CFOs and the CEOs of large banks. So these people around me were running 8, 9, even sometimes 10-figure businesses, and just through proximity and them seeing that I was hungry and wanting to do well and do good for others, they kind of tucked me under their wings. So again, like in hindsight, I realized how great this was for me. During the time, I just wanted to kind of like help serve this mission. So that's what got me into marketing, through this really altruistic passion and kind of this need and this pain, I guess you could say, and wanting to help others. And I've kind of took that with me ever since. Like, I'm not really a paid acquisition guy. Everything I've done has really been like grassroots community marketing, email marketing, cold email, social media marketing. So that's kind of the high level story there.
Right. It's amazing that you had that, like a lot of people with Crohn's are just like silently suffer.
Yes.
They don't come out about it. They don't talk about it. It's so, give yourself a pat on the back. Like you really said, they got to raise awareness about this. I mean, like I know a few people myself who have Crohn's, and people don't know it's a gastro disorder. So it's not the kind of thing you want to talk about.
Yeah.
And yeah, so yeah, now even more people know about it. So yeah, we're doing great stuff with that.
Sweet.
Yeah. So when you started building your agency, like you're now at 7 figures or 7-figure agency, like were you like shooting for that? Like did you think like we could grow it to get the 7 figures, or like you're just all right, let's just see what we can do and help some brands out and with email marketing?
Yeah, I had no clue. In this year, 2020, we'll do probably north of 8 figures. So, the previous years we've done 7. Last year was like high sevens. But when we started out, no clue, and when we didn't even plan or want to build an agency. It was just myself doing consulting, and then I linked up with a few other guys that wanted to do consulting. For a long time, it was just 2 or 3 of us doing decent revenue, and our goal was just, hey, let's just keep doing this for as long as we can. And we didn't think about building a team. We didn't think about building an agency. We didn't think about keeping any of the cash that we were making in a bank account so we could hire. So we definitely did not intend to even build an agency, let alone an agency of the magnitude and the size. It still surprises us every day. We're like, is this real? Are we actually doing this? So it's been cool, but by no means did we think we were going to do this or actually try to do this.
Right. Was it, how much does it have to do with like combining with structured? Like, because I think a lot of times with email agencies, like a lot of times the frustration is you don't control the whole process. Like you're doing email, but the acquisition team is like meh. And so I guess being on both sides of that coin that really like sprung you. Is it fair to say?
Yeah, yeah, yes and no. With email, you're absolutely right. Like what we do is only as good as the traffic and the leads that we have coming through, right? So them having strong top of funnel is really important. Most of the time, though, teams have strong top of the funnel, and then they bring us in on retention because retention is really weak. So oftentimes, the brands that we're working with on top of funnel is actually different than our partners on the paid social time at Structured. We do have some overlapping clients. So, if we have 150 clients, maybe 10 or 20% of the brands are brands that we manage both acquisition as well as retention for. But there's still a bulk majority of the brands that we are the retention team, and they have a totally different agency or a totally different in-house team that's handling acquisition. So it definitely helps having them together under one roof. And our goal is to start selling more packages where we own the entire channel for D2C brands. But that's at this goal right now. That's like a goal, right? That's an ambition. We're not there yet. We have kind of just started scratching the surface. So it's definitely helped, but it's not as far along as you would think.
All right. Cool. So, what do you think were like the keys to growing? Knowing you started like from almost nowhere,
Yeah.
and then were there like big growing pains? Like we're like, oh shoot, like we're in trouble now. Like,
Oh, I mean, yeah, we still face growing pains. Like are 100 plus people, and that introduces a whole set of new problems at a larger scale, right? So, every month, every quarter, every year, there are things that come up, and the problems that come up are so much larger just because you have way more people to maneuver. You've got way more overhead and expenses. You've got a lot more people that you have to be cognizant of in your decision making. So for us, I think going back to that point I mentioned, like we never thought we were going to do an agency. We just wanted to be consultants, and therefore every dollar that came in went to our own pockets. We didn't have this, awareness to put money into a bank account to be able to hire a team. So that set us back initially, right? When we wanted to then flip the switch from consultants or freelancers to becoming an agency, We then had to wait a little bit longer to be able to hire because we had no cash in our accounts and we didn't want to take it from our personal stuff and put it back into the business. So that was one. In previous agencies prior to this one, we were trying to do every single service off underneath the sun, and we weren't qualified to do that. So we were offering all these SEO, influencer, paid, like all these things we just said yes to early on. And that left us really kind of, you know, jack of all trades, master of none, right? And in this most recent agency, right, like we started Boundless specifically focused on e-commerce email marketing. And it wasn't until we merged that we started offering any other services. And the way that we offered other services was through merger or acquisition. We partnered with the paid team because all they did and knew were paid. We've made, like 2 or 3 kind of acqui-hire kind of acquisitions since to offer additional services. We brought in really great people that have run, email or SMS or paid search or content at other, ESPs or SMS providers. So we've really kind of leveled up in who we've brought in and how we've offered additional services. um, Another one is like trying to get the team and kind of like now we have like senior managers, we've got mid-level managers, we've got junior managers, trying to figure out like what information do you disseminate to which respective parties, what is too much, what's too little, and making sure that every single person gets the information as is, not the game of telephone, right? When I tell you something and when you go to tell someone else something, they hear it a little bit differently. So those are kind of some of the struggles that we faced and whatnot.
All right. Yeah. Cool. All right. So when you're onboarding a new client, and this might be like a little behind, but like, what's the playbook? Okay, we have a new client. Like, how do we onboard them and get them up and running?
Yes, I'll start even further than that, right? So a lead comes in, the first thing that we do is an introduction call. And the goal of that call is for us to understand where the brand's at, how they're currently doing, let's just say email, whether that's in-house with a freelancer and agency. They're obviously reaching out for a reason. What is that reason? We don't have the expertise. The work isn't up to par. It's too slow. We've tapped out. Like we don't know what we don't know, right? So there's a whole host of reasons in which someone might want to switch from internal to external team, from one agency to another. So really trying to understand like where are the strengths and where are the weaknesses of the current process, and then showing them how we work. It's like, hey, this is very specifically how we work. With brand A, this is how we do reporting. This is how we do our notes. This is how we do our onboarding. This is how we plan campaigns. This is how we plan flows. This is how we do, segmentation, whatever that might be. And we just screen share and show them who we work with and how we work. That's call one. If that call goes well, call two will basically be reviewing an audit. So in between those calls, we'll get access to their ESP, and then we'll do an audit. We'll basically highlight the good, the bad, and the missing. And then we'll also send over a proposal. And on that second call, it's like, hey, here are our 5, 10, 15, 20, however many findings we had. Here's where we think we would start. And here's the kind of the scope and the pricing for us to do so. From there, right, if it's a good fit, they say, yep, let's get going. What we'll do then is we'll start building out the Notion board, which is the project management system. We'll start collecting assets. We'll start kind of setting up the calendar. We'll start getting access to all the accounts, right? So that's kind of the next step, is like collecting the assets, getting the logins, and really start preparing for hitting the ground running. And then our playbook, right, is just like making sure that we're focused on email collection, making sure we're focused on setting up and optimizing flows, making sure that we're kind of hitting that right frequency of campaigns per week, making sure that, deliverability is strong, and so on.
Right, for sure. Yeah, and that's what makes you really good. If you know how to improve the deliverability, you know how to audit campaigns and see where the problems are, what the issues are. That's thank you. That's great stuff. So how much are you personally involved in all that process you just talked about? Or how much are you just, biz dev? Because you post at least 3-4 times a week. It's Twitter, it's YouTube Shorts, it's a ton of stuff. It's nonstop. It's your link. You have a newsletter, I think, once a week or something like that. Something you're doing on LinkedIn.
It's a lot of content. It's
a ton of content coming out of you.
It's like 2
like
free. Yeah, it's like 2 free weekly newsletters, a paid newsletter. I'm actually posting on social like 3 or 4 times a day. So it ends up being like a lot of posts throughout the week. But my role right now is a couple of things. One is, like content, biz dev, partnership, sales. So when I talk about like the first intro call, that's what I do. And when I talk about like the audit and the close, that's what I do. And then from there, we have someone on our team that kind of works with the actual team that's going to do the work to kind of work on the onboarding and kind of the setup. So I was in the day to day for, I don't know, 3.5 years, and I haven't been in the day to day of like the actual clients. But a lot of what I'm doing is like creating content for the team, helping them with some strategy, really helping them level up, and then finding other agencies to acquire or acquire, finding and building out partnerships with the likes of, let's say, like a Clavio, throwing events, speaking at events. So a lot more of my stuff at this point right now is like market focused, and then obviously providing as much stuff as I can to the team, so that way they're learning all the stuff that I'm learning.
All right. We touched on this a little bit before, but what flows specifically do you look at first when you're starting with a new e-commerce client?
Yeah, it depends on where they're at. So, like, what the context that we come in, the minimum they have to be doing is $1 million a year. And most clients are doing 5, 10, 50, 100 million, right? So, every client's slightly different depending on like where they come in. But if I was starting from like very scratch, the first three I'd focus on is like the welcome series for non-buyers, the abandoned checkout, and then the customer thank you. Reason being, welcome series for non-buyers, people come to expect that. That's really important to like educate and indoctrinate people into the brand. The abandoned checkout, people are so close to making a purchase, like you just have to literally remind them and stay top of mind, hopefully get them to
Right.
convert, and a good percentage of them will. And then customer thank you, like you really have to show gratitude, reduce buyer's remorse, and just be genuinely thankful for that customer buying from you, because there's hundreds if not thousands of buying decisions that someone could have made outside of yours. So you want to show that gratitude. So those are the first three that we always start with and always look for.
That's great stuff. All right. Do you guys always operate like done for you as opposed to done with you and consulting? Or is there, chase consulting, or it's just really always done for you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
when we were starting out, we did everything. We did done for you, done with you, straightly consulting, right? So done for you, straightforward. Done with you was more like, hey, we'll tackle campaigns, you tackle flows, or we'll tackle flows, you tackle the campaigns. And then the consulting is more like, hey, we're going to be strategic across the entire email channel, but your team's going to have to be the one executing everything. So we were doing all of that, and then we went away from that for a long time, because when in this consulting role, we were giving advice, but the teams weren't following it, and they were taking too long, and they were taking too slow. And then they're like, look, the strategy's not working. And then we're like, okay, let us take on the channel. We're going to run the same playbook, and we're going to show you it's going to work. We would then take over, and it would 2, 3, 5, 10x what they were doing with the same strategy, just because they weren't doing it, right? Like people were getting lazy, and we're like, send 3 emails this week, and they would get 1 out, right? And it would be like half-assed. Or send out 4 emails, and they'd send out 2, and they were just like the same email sent twice, right? So when we were doing the consulting before, people weren't strict and diligent and kind of following through with what we told them. So we weren't doing any of that. We only did done for you. But now, as we're working with these brands that are doing 50 million, 100 million, 200 million dollars, they have these teams in place, and these people are doing a fairly decent job, but they just need some coaching and hand holding and whatnot. And we're very strict and very forthright in kind of the onboarding. Like, if you don't follow what we're going to say, this isn't going to work. You're going to spend a lot of money with us, and it's not going to be worth it. Are you guys going to commit to the calls that we have every week, the Slack, the work that we're going to tell you? If yes, let's do it. If no, we're not going to do it. So I'd say like probably 90% of our book of business right now is done for you, and about 10% is consulting. So it's starting to grow again now that we're opening it back up.
Right. And I assume also, as you've been growing as a brand and a successful agency, like then these bigger brands already have a team.
Yes.
They're doing email and they're doing millions of email, but they know like you have a lot of know-how, and what can you do? What can we improve? It's always about moving that needle and keeping it growing. All right. All right, what was your biggest marketing win? I mean, it could be like for your brand, or it could be also like a campaign you ran that you were like knocked the client's socks off, and like you still smile when you think about that campaign.
I mean, there's definitely a lot of those for clients. For me personally, I had a win literally yesterday that on the personal side that I was really stoked about. I had hit like 80,000 followers on Twitter. I hit like 33 followers on LinkedIn and 36,000 newsletter subscribers, literally all in the same day within like 10 or 15 minutes of one another. So that's like the most recent personal big win I've had. With clients, I think probably one of like the largest email revenue wins we've had on a single email. I want to say we had a client that did like, I think it was like 500 to like 750,000 or something off a single campaign. So I think that was a pretty big win. Like they did, half a million to $750,000 with like a single campaign. That was pretty cool. And we've had lots of clients do 50, 100, $250,000 off campaigns, but never.
Right. And there's always, it depends on the expectation, of course,
Yeah, yeah.
like,
They
right.
definitely weren't doing that before, and we can't take all the credit. Again, like email's only as good as the traffic and the leads. This brand had a really great kind of like cult-like community. They really people when they came to the brand were really like fanatical, right? So
Uh,
it makes our job easy. And it was really just lining up the dominoes so that way when we were to kind of do these big launches and these big promotions, that it was going to work. So we basically did like a lot of hyping. We did like a launch announcement. We did a reminder. We did a follow up. So with a single email, they did like 500,000 or 3/4. But over like the course of like I think it was like 3 or 5 emails, they did like north of a million, 1.5 million off of like 3 to 5 emails that they only paid us a fixed rate on, right? It wasn't like we were getting a percentage of that, which is a bummer, but that's the thing too. Like the larger the brand that works with us, the more upside that they have, right? So the more that they want to retain an agency like ours, because the more they make, they're still paying us the same amount.
right. For sure. Like if you're successful in email, you're raising, another 10% could be another $1 million. And you're getting $10,000, easy win, like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
okay. All right. How do you manage expectations with clients? Like, and especially you're managing, you said over 150 brands.
Yeah.
Like, is there like a whole team like communicating with clients, or like how do you just handle all that?
Yeah, so it really starts in the sales process. Like we are very adamant about like how we do things. So for when we give clients approvals, they have 3 business days to get back to us on the approval, or we're just going to move forward with it if they don't respond. So we basically in the very beginning we tell them how we work, and we almost kind of over index on being aggressive and kind of strict, that it pushes clients away that aren't like that, right? We try to kind of rule out the last minute Larrys. We don't want people giving us campaigns that are due in 2 hours from now. That we don't want them to approve it or give us assets for it, and we have to turn around 2 hours. It just doesn't work with our process. That we need to plan in advance. We need a few days to be able to turn something around. So everything is really strict on the sales process. And then we have account managers and the marketers are very close with clients, probably communicating daily, if not every other day, on like where things at and kind of what we're waiting for and what we need and kind of how they're fitting that expectation or not.
Are you like always building all the assets in house? Like you have a design team that's doing all the designs and
Yeah, we
copy
do
team, so like all
we do
that
full
stuff?
service of A through Z when we do done for you. Everything from strategy to copy to design to reporting to account management, execution, deliverability, segmentation. We manage the entire channel when we do done for you.
Uh-huh. All right. All right. How much? I mean, you kind of touched on this already, so maybe we could skip it if you want. But like, how much research goes on before you actually take on a new client?
As we're taking on a client, we're doing like an onboarding where we're surveying them and we're getting them to fill out, different questionnaires that we have to really learn about them. So we will do some market research kind of on our own, like brand A, who are some of their competitors, how are they positioned, what do some of their ads look like. So we'll kind of do some quick research, maybe like an hour or two on our own. But most of the information we get is directly from their brand, directly getting access to Shopify, getting access to their ESP, their Google Analytics, their triple whale, like whatever it might be. Like we're getting access to all the accounts and we're asking them a series of questions, and that kind of serves the most research for us.
All right. Okay. I'm just trying to see. Some people are here. Especially one guy. It's your story. What's the biggest mistake here? Well, this is from your story. What's the biggest mistake you made in your early days? I guess trying
with
to.
with the agency.
I guess. I mean, I didn't ask this question. This guy, your story did, but I
Yeah.
guess.
I think like going back to like the question that you asked and like some of the things we did wrong were like not focusing on a single service, not basically storing kind of a float in the account to be able to hire people. We probably often hired the wrong people and didn't part ways quick enough. We like people, right? Like we're people we're people persons, right? Like we want to make sure that like everyone feels safe and everyone feels good and everyone has a chance. And I think we gave people a chance for too long, probably to our demise and to theirs. I think they probably would have been better off, doing something else or going somewhere else too, where there probably would have been a lot longer term opportunity. Not being strict with clients, not firing the wrong clients, right? Like now we have like a no BS policy, like where before we kind of put up with a lot of BS because we were kind of desperate and needed to, where now it's like, look, there's enough great brands. We've got a lot of great clients. Like if you're going to be rude to our team or if you're not going to pay invoices in a timely manner, like, look, respectfully, but we don't need you and you're not going to need us. So those are kind of some of the things that come to mind.
Right. Well, so where do you look? I mean, are you still looking for inspiration, like in terms of like email inspiration, or I mean, you put out a lot of inspiration.
Yeah. Not really. I am inspired by the work that our team does, though. Like, I can't take credit for, half of it, right? So a lot of the work that our team does, like, it's not all me. So I'm inspired by the work that we do. Like, I'll get emails in my inbox and I'll look at it and I'm like, holy shit, this brand is sick. And I'll forget that that's like one of our clients, right? Or like, I have this Twitter account called Email of the Day. And a lot of the emails I end up picking are like our client emails just because like I'm so in awe. So a lot of the inspiration is like internal in terms of like email. But in terms of like social media growth and like monetization and agency scaling, like, I mean, there's a lot of people that I look up to for inspiration. A lot of people I look to see like, what are they doing and what are the learnings there? And how do I reverse engineer that? So email specific, it's mainly the team. And I'm sure there's other things, but not as much anymore. And then other things like, like so much inspiration. I feel like I don't know what I'm doing outside of email a lot of times. Like I don't know what I'm doing on social. So I'm trying to learn from other people and trying to hack it together and figure it out.
It's funny because like you're like you just said, you have, what do you say, 80,000 12, I don't know, you have mad numbers going on. I mean, you've grown it really fast, right? Like it's been a year or more. Like when you as frequently as you are now.
Twitter has been a little over 2 years. The newsletter has been a little over 2 years. But like for me, like I just love helping and I love impact. Like I want zeros on the end of it, right? Like I'd love to be helping.
You can see that. I think that comes through.
360,000 people in my newsletter. I'd love to be helping 800,000 people on my Twitter. So yeah, it's been good, but like I just see other people. Like I did that in 2 years, which again, don't get me wrong, that's cool and that's great. But I see other people like doing that in 8 months, in 6 months, right? And it's like they know something that you don't, right? Like on the email side, I think in my courses and my content, I know things that other people don't that I'm open to sharing. On this social stuff and on these other things, there are definitely things that people know that they're not telling you, right? And they don't have to tell you, right? So I'm trying to figure out what are those secrets and how do I share those secrets?
Right. Yeah, for sure. We just did that. All right. Okay. Yeah. No, so do you like to focus on specific verticals? I mean, you're doing 150 brands. Do they fall into any categories?
Yeah, I'd say. So we don't necessarily focus on specific verticals, but we have concentration in verticals. It's not like we are actively seeking health and wellness or food and beverage. All of our business comes inbound. So it's whatever brands we're doing. And oftentimes, like if we share a case study with a food and beverage brand, that attracts food and beverage brands, right? So it's almost like we're attracting similar brands because we're sharing similar brands. We have a decent amount. We probably have in every category anywhere between like 10 to 25 brands. So like fashion and apparel is a big one, health and wellness, food and beverage is our largest. I think we've got like 25 brands in food and beverage. Home decor is a big one. Accessories, so things like watches, jewelry, wallets, etc. Yeah, so we probably are working in the top like 6 to 8 major categories. It's kind of like our largest concentration. Yeah, beauty, those types of things.
Right. It's like, I mean, you ever look like geographic data, usually works out that like New York, Florida, California,
Yeah. Exactly.
So, do the same thing with businesses. Will kind of line up the same way.
Exactly.
Right. Interesting. I want to ask you a specific question about a client of mine. I don't normally ever do this, but
okay.
I have a client who's a discount furniture chain, and they have like horrible return policy. There's no returns.
Okay.
It's final, everything is final sale, and the prices are really discount, and it's and they deliver. But like it's even in their policy that like even if something gets damaged on the way to your house, we're not responsible for that.
Okay.
Because these couriers, and yeah, it's just like you're tough luck. How open do you think we should be about that? Like final sale, like that everything's final sale, and like I mean their marketing strategy is like I would say what they've been doing probably for 30 years, which is like like it's not like loud, sale, 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 everything must go, 90% off clearance, all this kind of stuff. So I'm trying to, make it a little more personal, make it a little more, trying to reach people and, talking that like people voice, which we love to talk about. But I'm always wondering, like, should I maybe be a little more upfront? Like, I mean, I think it also gives value. Like if everything is final sale, like it means like this is like a real discount, it's a real deal. It's not, just playing with margins or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I personally don't love that, right? Like, I'm always like forthright. You have to be transparent because, like, sure, maybe you get someone to buy one time, but are you going to have like repeat customers if there's something that happens? So, I think like the more transparent and the honest that you can be, like, look, as an email marketer, you're not going to be able to change the company policy. That's their policy. They're not going to change it because you don't feel good about it. But what you can do, and again, whether that gets approved or not, I don't know by the client. But I think, yeah, like introducing the language in which people know that, like, this is a final sale and the responsibility is on the buyer. I don't know if they can introduce like buyer's insurance, right? There's like some of those things where there's like buyer's insurance, right? And people can buy that. But yeah,
right. If I wouldn't be that, it's actually not a bad idea. I could talk to them about that, buyer's insurance, because like probably add like I don't know $10 on the sale, which is buyer's insurance, and then that covers any damages that can happen on the way.
Which is great for both parties, right? Like it's great for the company because if something does happen, they have insurance, and it's great for the customer because things are going to happen, right? Like I'm sure a lot of things probably get delivered and they're okay, but for the ones that don't, if there's a way to save and kind of salvage that relationship through being a great person, like I love like Amazon and I love Costco and I love some of these places because they're always on the side of the consumer. And I think when you're on the side of the consumer, that's how you win. I'm surprised the brand has been around for 30 years. Like normally a brand like that's kind of like that. Longevity is kind of an issue. But I mean, I guess they're probably doing some things right. Maybe the quality is pretty good.
That's pretty big. I mean, they do a lot of retail. That's a huge part of it.
Yeah.
So I think they have 13 branches. So, but the online part of it is smaller.
Yeah.
But it's doing all right. But I'm trying to help them grow. So all ideas are gold, or diamond in this case. All right. Yeah, no, that's not really the question I want to ask. Hold on a second. All right, what are your favorite brands? That's what I wanted to ask.
Favorite brands?
Like who do you look for in your inbox? Yeah.
That I shop from, that I like, that I work with, that
no, more that like you like following them, like you love their emails, like you love seeing what they're putting out. Like you read, like you subscribe to them to get their emails because you love getting their emails. You love seeing what they're doing.
Yeah, a couple. I think like Olipop does a good job. I think Liquid Death does a good job. We have a couple clients that I really think do a cool job, like this brand called Hydrant. They do a really cool job. I mean, we have a lot of clients, but I don't think about like non-clients. I think like a brand called Away, it's Ouai, does a good job. I think like Away Luggage does a good job. Casper, like there's like a lot that come to mind. It really depends on like the category in which someone like works in. But yeah, like a little every day I look at like my inbox to see emails that I like, and there's definitely brands that I keep sharing from the most, and those are some of them.
And Olipop, I mean, I had my last guest was Eli Weiss, who used to do CX for.
Eli's a good guy. He's a smart guy.
Yeah, he's a great guy. It was a great talk, and just like it's amazing how he just like created his own thing, and it's it was a great conversation.
Yeah, there's a client of ours called Magic Mind. I'm looking right now, like at some emails. Magic Mind is a cool one. There's a brand called Recess, which is a CBD brand that does a really good job. Let's see what else. Yeah, Olipop. I just kind of share the same brands. Brand called Good Light. Twice Oral Wellness. So I mean, I have probably like dozens of brands. It just depends on the category.
All right, awesome. Okay, so what is what are some of your favorite campaigns that you've run? Like, I mean, we talked about or just seen. It doesn't have to be your campaign, but like an all-time favorite campaign or
Yeah, I got one. On April Fools, for a few brands, we did this. One was this brand called Nugs. Was one of our clients. It's like a chicken nugget alternative, and essentially what we did was we basically did a trail of chicken nuggets. So like literally you'd open the email and it would just be like a zigzag trail of chicken nuggets. And you would literally scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll all the way down the email. And at the very end, it was like, hey, we just wasted, 60 seconds of your life, forward this to a friend who you want to mess with, So we just do like some of these like really ridiculous emails of like just this chicken nugget trail because that's what they sold going for days. We did an interesting one where we're like, with some of our products, I think they sold candy, and we did like a massive jar in the email of like candy, and we're like, guess how many candies were in here? Like scroll down to see the answer, and then it was like, we don't know, like why does it matter, right? Just buy from us, we just do like some really ridiculous emails, and people love them. They respond and they share them, and they just love them. So, and again, you have to have the right brand. Like these are some of the brands that like we just mess with, and that's like the tone and the persona of the brand. So yeah, for the right brand, just being ridiculous within the inbox is great.
right? No, for sure. And well, as you get bigger, work with bigger corporates, and like as a older brands, not like these startup D2C brands. Like they're a little more nervous about these kinds of things.
Yeah.
You handled those objections before?
Look, we know who and when the right brand to present that to is or isn't based off of like their customer. Like, is their customer, young, or is their customer old? How do they portray themselves? If they're like just literally using like black and white colors and everything is so corporate, like we're probably not the right fit for them initially anyway. So we like to have fun. We like brands that have cool branding and cool assets and have a personality. So yeah, like we wouldn't ever probably work with like I don't even know who an example would be. All of our clients are kind of more like fun and interesting, right? Like we work with like Poopery, the spray for the bathroom, right? They have like those ridiculous commercials with that lady that's really like proper, right? So we just work with like kind of weird and fun and quirky brands. So most of them are kind of cool to a degree.
That's fun. All right. All right. What are your top tips to pushing an email program to the next level?
Top tips. So again, it depends. Like everyone's looking for silver bullets. I feel like it's the issue. Email is really like doing the same thing ongoing consistently well, right? So you have to make sure that you're collecting emails at the optimal rate. So you have to be testing forms, testing the offers, testing behavior, testing the call to actions, testing the copy, testing the design. The more emails that you can collect without, saying, hey, 90% off if you sign up here, right? The better. So if, with a reasonable incentive, whether it's like free shipping, entry into a giveaway, some kind of dollar off or percentage off, like getting the most amount of emails you can, is great. Making sure that you have coverage pre and post purchase on automations is really important. Making sure that you're sending enough campaigns per week where you maximize revenue, but you minimize churn, right? Through segmentation, through making sure that you find the right frequency, that's super important. With the campaigns, right? You have to leverage segmentation. You can't just batch and blast. So those are kind of like the core ones that come to mind is those.
All right. Awesome. Okay. I think we're at the end.
Sweet.
So
that was fun.
final thoughts, do you have any final thoughts? It's always how I am.
No, I feel like I've talked a lot already, so I don't think I need to say anything else.
You definitely have talked a lot, and definitely was a lot of great nuggets. And I really thank you a lot, for showing up and just spilling your brain.
Yeah,
all
thanks for
over
having me.
this audience. So thanks again. I hope we could keep in touch. And if you're ever in Israel, let me know.
Cool.
I know you have a lot of friends here. That's for sure.
Yeah, a lot of clients. I'm Jewish. I wanted to do Birthright for a long time. I just never got around to it. So I'll make a trip at some point.
Yeah, no, you got to for sure. I think there even are I don't know how old you are, but there are birthright trips for like 30 plus.
Oh, okay. I'm 29, so I guess I got time.
Are you still? Yeah, you can find it for sure. And it's funny. Like there are guys. I didn't know you were Jewish, but Dimond actually, I know diamonds that are Jewish, and Crohn's disease is I don't know what percentage it is, but it's a very Jewish disease.
Yeah,
So that was the other tip off.
yeah. I'm first born in a Jewish family, like Ashkenazi. So like a lot of the signs point to Crohn's being more common than not.
Right. I'm curious maybe we could continue this after the broadcast.
Sounds good. Yeah. Thanks.
All
Thanks
right,
for
I'll
having
let
me.
you and then wrap this up. All right, thanks again for showing up today. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. I certainly did. But that wraps up season 2. Thanks again to Engage, our amazing sponsor, who really made this whole season possible. So looking forward to season 3. If anyone's interested in being a guest or a sponsor, please reach out.